Join me, Christine Knox, as I have the great pleasure of interviewing the incredible Pam Fitch. Pam is a veteran massage therapist. She's also a scar therapist and an educator around trauma informed practice. She is an expert in the therapeutic relationship and communication. Pam very generously shares with us how consent, deep listening, and clear boundaries create safety within our clinical practices, especially when clients disclose more than we had expected them to. Listen to this podcast as it will give you some clear, simple language skills and moment to moment tools that make sessions safer, more effective, and more sustainable. Enjoy. But let's start with how did you even get started in this field, Pam? What was your story, your journey into it?
Well, Christine, you know that I'm a storyteller, and you know that I get on. So it's a kind of a funny story because my background prior to becoming a massage therapist was I was in music, and then I was in theater, and then I was in arts administration, and then I progressed into media relations and communication. So I was writing press releases and that kind of stuff, and I happened to be in a position. I was working for a crown corporation, so it was a government department, and there was a big scandal. And I was the point person for the scandal. So I was answering questions. And I was so uncomfortable because I wanted people to ask me questions which were hard to answer. I wanted to let people know with my face that things were not good. But I'm actually pretty good at convincing people that, when I'm saying something, that I'm not lying. So nobody asked me those difficult questions. Mm-hmm. And I began to get really uncomfortable with that situation that comes up when people are in public positions and you have to respond to the press, because I was having to lie. Everything's here, everything's fine, nothing's going on over here.
Nothing to see here.
And so as that was happening, I also flew to Toronto to do a public relations thing for a festival that was happening in my city. And I don't know how this happened, but we ended up doing the presentation for the media in the CN Tower. Now, that's like the highest building in Toronto, or used to be the highest building in Toronto. And I have pretty severe vertigo. So I went up in this glass-fronted elevator, left bruises on the arm of the woman that was standing next to me, who was helping me, and then held the bar up the entire time I was there, because I was quite sure that if I walked on this glass floor, the entire CN Tower would fall over. For sure, that was going to happen. So fast forward to the end of the presentation, and I thought, there's a massage therapist that works at the hotel, and I'm going to go for a massage. If I survive this hour, I'm going to go have a massage. So I did. I got down the elevator, left some more bruises on somebody else, and then staggered to the hotel. And sure enough, there was a place for me, a time for me. The woman who was offering the massage, her name was Faye. And she was very quiet, soft-spoken. And she was so gentle and accommodating. She just kind of smiled and showed me where her treatment room was, and it was very softly lit. And she walked me in and said, "This is how you get on the table, and I'm going to leave the room." And she did that speech, right? And I thought, this is awesome. This is amazing. And I got onto the table, and felt really relaxed. The table was warm. She had a table heater on it. She came back in. She took a deep breath. She put her hands on my back. And I went, I could do this. This is awesome. And in that moment, I recognized the purity of the communication that happens in the massage treatment room. It's absolutely crystalline, isn't it? Like people, I could touch my clients with intention and they could feel my where I am through my hands, right? So I wouldn't even have to use words. I'm pretty good with words, but at that time I was really done with the words. I just wanted something really pure. So I got this massage, and 10 minutes into the massage, I'm like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. This is it. I'm going to be a massage therapist. That was 1984.
Wow.
And I started school in 1986 and I graduated in 88. And from that time until now, like I can't imagine not identifying this way. It's in my bones, in my hands. It's my psyche. It's everything about massage therapy is fit for me. So I am like the quintessential massage therapy junkie. That's how I got into it.
Fabulous story. And I love that for me, it seems quite obvious that you still feel the same way about.
Well, I kind of do, like there does come to be a certain point where you think, oh yeah, back massage would be really nice right now and everything. So I don't actually have quite the same newbie enthusiasm that I had at the time. But man, do I ever see the need in our world for acceptance and integrity and touch and good communication and listening and compassion and people who ask for permission to touch you and all that stuff. Like, I think it's probably more needed now than it ever was, right?
Right. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, we've got a lot of stuff happening in our world at the moment.
It's complicated.
All of that. A lot of change happening. And, I still think that massage therapy and massage therapists are just a source of good in the world. I really genuinely believe.
I agree.
And
I
we
totally agree with you.
got together and just deliberately, organized a way for us to be sustainable, save our bodies, save our practices, so we can just help more and more and more people. Like, that's what I love,
Well, I have also sung in choirs all my life. So since I was like 4, it was the first time I joined a choir. And when you sing in a choir, you realize that you have to get comfortable with people you don't know. You have to somehow be embodied as you're making sound. You want to meet the sounds of other people or harmonize with them. It's a very similar kind of process, singing in a group, to what happens in the massage therapy room. But what happens in massage is one-on-one. And so the medicine is really powerful in massage therapy, I think.
Yeah, I think so too. And that analogy with the choir, yes, absolutely. And I think we can maybe even extrapolate that out to our massage community, like standing side by side with people, listening to different voices, singing in different notes and tunes, but all for the same purpose, I think.
Well, I've often said, and I may have said this to you once before, massage therapy is like handwriting. We can read what everybody else is doing, but we all do it uniquely and utterly individually. So what I do as my massage practice is going to be different from yours. And clients know that. And somehow they find their way, they progress their way to find somebody that they can relate to, who they feel safe with. And that's the great privilege of what we do, is that people offer themselves for us to work on. And that feeling of privilege, that's never left me. That is just a remarkable thing about our work. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. What a great share. Thank you. In terms of what happened, you're building up your practice and all of, like, if you cast your mind back, like, how was that for you in that
1,000 years ago when dinosaurs
when
roamed the
everyone
earth?
rode dinosaurs to work, and
Um,
before
first...
everyone had a mobile phone.
Yeah, I'm that old, honestly. So when I started in my city, I
Yeah,
don't know how many massage therapists there are here now, but there's easily close to 1,000 in my city.
yeah.
When I started in this city, there were 10 of us. We all knew each other. We all knew how we did things differently. And so if somebody didn't like the way I worked, I could say, well, you could go see that person down the street. I think they'd be better fit for you. So times have changed dramatically. But when I started, it was a similar kind of thing. People needed to be educated as to what massage therapy could offer and what we clearly couldn't do anything about, right? So we had to know what our boundaries were. We had to know how to listen and how to bracket certain conversations, because sometimes clients would tell us way too much. Nothing has changed there. This is the same work as what we did back in the 80s. So what has changed, as you say, is computers, phones, iPads, social media, technology. That has changed everything. And it's both made the world smaller, but also in some ways made it more isolated for many people, so that massage therapy becomes the opportunity to have a decent interaction with another human being. And I think that's probably why we get pillow talk when our clients tell us things that maybe they haven't told anybody else, and becomes a big disclosure. And so all of those kind of situations demand that we respect the disclosures, but also remember our role for confidentiality. And when we do stuff like that, it just reinforces that the client can trust us. And if we can be trusted, then they're going to come back and see us. That's pretty much in a nutshell what I think the business model is for massage therapy. Be trustworthy, and people will come back to see you.
Yeah. Trust is huge, right? Yeah.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I often think, I remember a story another therapist told me about her first day at massage school, when the teacher came out and basically said, okay, everybody undress and get in the room. And
Yeah.
everyone was like,
Yeah.
what?
Oh, yeah.
And then once everyone was in the room, and he was a male teacher, he said, okay, this is how your clients feel. And you feel vulnerable. This is how your clients feel. Okay, everyone can get dressed. That was in the 90s. So this was a therapist who started in the 90s. And that's what the teacher did. And I was just like, oh boy, wow.
Yeah, that's
big lesson.
That's bold.
Bold. Yeah, bold. There's no way we could get away with that these days. But yeah,
what a wonderful story.
I know, right?
Because if you want to be a good therapist, if you want to have a successful practice, be a good client and know what it feels like to be a client, and then don't do the bad stuff. Okay, there's another simple lesson. Don't do the bad stuff. We all know what it is. Don't do it.
Don't do it. Yeah, absolutely. And you've gone into teaching, and you've got your beautiful book, The Talking Body Listening Hands, which I love. I love a lot. How did all of that next steps in your career happen for you, Pam? I'm sure people be.
Another story. So 3 weeks after I graduated, in my jurisdiction here in Canada, I'm in a province that is regulated. So we are in the same kind of regulation as doctors and nurses and dental hygienists and psychologists. It's all the same regulation. So the standards are, significant. And I was waiting for my registration, got the registration, thought, great, I can start. It's May 1st, 1988. So I had a place to work in. It was a doctor's office. And she was a general family physician who worked with a lot of clients that had environmental sensitivities. And if you know that population, you'll recognize that there's often coexisting problems with layers of trauma, layers of autoimmune dysfunction, that kind of thing. And so 3 weeks into my practice, a woman came into my clinic and just told me that, she was a heavy smoker. She had a deep, deep voice. And she said, yeah, well, I can't stand to be touched. And I want a massage. And I'm an alcoholic, and I'm cross addicted to pills. And obviously I'm addicted to food as well. As you can see, she was a large woman. And I want you to teach me. Okay. Wow. Yeah. So my whole practice has been full of people like this remarkable, courageous woman who invited me to learn from her. She was my teacher. She was my first teacher because I didn't know what to do. And we began uncovering what she could tolerate, what touch she could tolerate, and where not to touch. And so I developed a fairly full practice of people that she kept referring to me who also had histories of trauma. So the first, I think I opened my practice on the 1st of May, and by the middle of June, I was fully booked because just like a tsunami of people. Mm-hmm. There was nobody else that they could imagine coming to see, but this particular woman had a lot of credibility with them. So they would all come and see me. And in addition to that, the physician I was working with was sending me other people who had complex situations. So pretty much within a couple of months of practicing, I was offering care to a population group that nobody prepared me for in massage school. Like I could assess a knee, I could tell you what's wrong with your low back pain, I could treat a headache really, really well. But complex, multiple layers of pre-existing conditions plus trauma. So that's where I really drew on my experience in acting and music and performance and media relations, where, I might look like I was okay, but inside I'd be dog paddling and thinking, oh my God, what am I going to do? Right? You know that feeling?
I have definitely been there.
And I would just stay as calm as I remembered the woman that I had first met, Faye. I would try to stay as calm as she did and not move suddenly and not make any decisions quickly. And it just turned out that that was the right way to go about establishing a framework for working with sensitive populations. And so pretty much within months, I was just so fully booked. I couldn't take any more clients. It was just crazy. And I didn't have any training. There was no training available for that kind of work. lots of people were doing orthopedic work, but at that time, nobody was actively working with a population that was anxious or depressed or sad or terrified. So
Yeah. Yes.
that's kind of the group that I ended up working with. How to climb back inside your body 101. That was my practice.
Wow. Just fascinating. And I think because of potentially people like yourself who experience that with no formal training in it, my original first massage teacher was a somatic healer
Right.
and a shaman as well. So she
Right.
was like, and this is in Scotland. And
Yeah.
so she loved helping us work with vulnerable groups of people in our student clinics. She would take us to a hepatitis C clinic to deliver massage
Right.
to this particular
Sure.
population.
Definitely.
She would be in the room the whole time. We do a consultation and then we'd leave the, explain on
Yeah.
the table. She'd
Yeah.
take out the room, put the
Yeah.
person on the table and she'd
Yeah.
say, okay, you did really well. So these are the things, and what do you think you should be doing next? And I'm just like, and many strange things happened in that room. I'm sure I saw people morph into their child, that you could just see people. And it was just fascinating and confronting.
And enlightening. I mean, because it really expands your mind and you think, oh, wow, I didn't know we could go there, right? Or
yeah.
And the question for me has always been, if that person, if that client, that patient has gone there to either an altered realm or whatever, what's my job in this moment? And how can I remain present without harming? So it's another take home for me that I had to really think about, which is, this work is powerful and clients will expect you to go places that you may not be able to legitimately go, either because of your own jurisdictional limits or because of your own personal limits. But how do we encounter people in a transparent and honest way, without harming them? I that continues to fascinate me.
And for anyone listening, therapists that are listening, because they are our wonderful audience, what would be something that can make all the difference to someone that's quite a simple thing to adopt in clinic?
So the absolute quintessential, most fundamental thing that we can do, whether it's you and your practice or me and my practice, or Joe Blow down the street who has a completely other different practice, the one common denominator that if we all did it, the world would be a better place, and that is to seek legitimate consent. And when I say informed consent, I don't just mean that it's a tick box, as sometimes we would see when I was teaching. Students would say, yeah, and I got consent. Yeah, okay, I got consent. So consent is not about just me telling you what I'm going to do. It's actually listening to you about what your hopes or your goals are, and then figuring out what among the things that I can do can I offer you to make sure that we meet those goals. And how am I going to do it? I'm going to describe my approach, and then I'm going to say, how does that sound to you? Does that sound like something you would like to do? Yes or no. If it's not, we respect it and we kind of close that chapter. But for the most part, people want to give us consent, but they also want us to understand why consent is so essential to them. why it's so important. So I think the most fundamental element of what we do as massage therapists is to seek consent. And I don't think I've ever said it in that way, but the way you ask the question, I think that is fundamentally the most common thing that we all do, should do. Yeah.
So it's really the smallest change that we can make in order to keep clients, I'm going to use the word safe, but I'm going to cared for as well. So it's
right.
It's not about us.
Cheap.
It's about
it's
them.
Cheap.
Cheap
doesn't cost anything. Doesn't cost anything. But can you imagine the power if nobody has ever asked you really carefully for your consent, and I do that, and then you receive a massage, which is what I said I was going to do, and then at the end of the massage I say, I kind of hope I did what I explained I was going to do. How do you feel? And you walk out, what are you going to do? You're going to tell somebody. You're going to tell somebody about the most amazing massage experience you've ever had because you felt heard. That is powerful. And it's not something that clients can buy easily. They can't find it very many places. Not everybody is wired for it, but it is the fundamental for me. Ooh, I am lecturing at this point. Sorry.
No,
but
I love
it is
it.
the most fundamental thing about what we do, I think. Yeah.
I absolutely love it. And I think it's really powerful and I think it's very useful. So let's just say I'm a new therapist hearing this conversation and I'm thinking, well, I did say, is it okay if I do this?
Yeah.
And they said, well, yeah, it's fine. What is the clue that that person is just being obliging, or they're just they're in a space where they want to be a good client and say the right thing to you? You know,
right?
The ones I mean. Right. You know the ones I mean.
Oh, I totally know.
How do we tell? I know how I tell.
Well, same. Can you say more?
I feel it. Yeah. And I can see. I'm very aware of the energy in the room and also the little kind of tells that people have. I should be a poker player, not a massage therapist.
Oh, I'd be the world's worst poker player. Because I have that rubbery face, I can't hide it. I think that for the new therapist, the powerful medicine is in listening. So that requires a good question. And when we say to people, when we're rushed and we just say, so what brings you in today? And, oh, well, we're just looking at our phone and, oh, the phone rings or we're shifting things on our desk or whatever. We're not settling ourselves and actively listening to the answer. So if I'm going to ask the question, what are you here for? I'm going to settle in and really listen to what you're going to say. And that will be the jumping off point for the consent. It's not patients feeling rushed to tell you that they have a problem. A lot of patients, as you know, they sometimes think they have to have a problem to get a massage. They don't. They could just get a massage because it would feel good to have a massage, right? Yeah. So it's important to give them permission to not have a problem. But if they have a problem, do they want to tell you about it? Settle in, listen to what the issue is, how it shows up. Maybe there was a car accident. Maybe the person had poor sleep. Whatever it is, there's always another question you can ask about whatever they're saying, which will draw you into the story. They'll tell you more. And eventually, the big reveal will happen. Oh, this person hasn't slept through the night for 14 weeks because they've been caring for an ill child or something like that. That's way bigger than a crick in the neck, which people will tell you because they don't want to disturb you. They don't want to take up your time or whatever, right? When I lived in Hong Kong years ago, many years ago, I would often have people come in, and they were used to Hong Kong. Hong Kong was very fast. Yeah. And I was coming from Canada, which is in a small city that was nowhere near what Hong Kong was like. So I would ask this question, and they'd be like tearing their clothes off and getting ready to get on the table. And I'd actually have to say, okay, let's take 5 minutes, because I don't know who you are, and I need to know a little bit about you. So just keep your clothes on for a minute while we just have a chat, right? And they'd laugh and, maybe keep some clothes on, and Australians were the worst. They were like, take those clothes off. I want to get on the table. I had no frame for that. But the conversation, to me, maybe it's just me, but I just think that conversation is absolutely critical. And then it allows us to hone in on the purpose of that hour. And then I can deliver the thing that the person is seeking, instead of just them rushing through an answer that they think I want to hear, and me rushing for my response with a treatment that isn't really grounded in heart and where they want to be.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's really interesting, the rushing client. I also, when I speak to the therapists we, speak to here, they often report that the client didn't come in for me to have a conversation with them. The client came in.
Yes, I've heard that.
So then they have created a pressure, which is actually slightly invented and inflated in their minds. As I said, honestly, in this world, you can take time, 10, 15, 20, you can really have a really good chat, find out really what's going on. And you'll stand out from the crowd. They will never go anywhere else. The value that you're giving is just second.
And Christine, I don't know if you have this in your country, but in our country, there are certain jurisdictions that kind of get twisted about asking this question, how are you doing today? As if by asking a general wellness check-in question, we are somehow behaving like quote unquote psychotherapists. Just asking how somebody's doing is not being a psychotherapist. It's being a human being. And me showing my humanity to you, and me inviting you to share your humanity with me, deepens and strengthens the therapeutic bond. I just think that supports all of what we do. That's not something that was in fashion in 1988 when I first started practicing, and is no longer in fashion. It's more needed now than it's ever been, right? Because the world is so complex. Oh my God. So we're not trying to be psychotherapists. If somebody starts down a track and tells me about their dreams or whatever, I'm going to say pretty quickly, not in my bailiwick. It's not the thing that I can talk about, but how's it feeling in your body? I can sit there with some confidence and say, how are you feeling in your body? And I'm staying in my scope, and I'm showing interest. So there's all kinds of ways of asking. You don't have to be comfortable with people telling you their story of their life, but asking them how their body is, listening actively to that story, that's gold. Absolutely. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we do have a big stay within your scope, stay within your scope. We're self-regulated as an industry here.
Oh, is that right?
So
Yeah.
there's a spectrum of
Yeah.
what that means,
Yeah.
depending who you are. So we have
Right.
people who have the highest qualifications, degrees, so well educated and everything else.
Right.
The other end, we have people who just opened a shop and I'm a massage therapist
Sure.
and everything in
Yeah.
between.
Yeah.
Absolutely everything in
And it's
between.
all the same rules.
And it's all the same rules.
Yeah, I get it.
And we
And
have
so our
associations that help
education,
us to have
right.
ethical conduct and insurance and be, health insurance providers and, so there's structure there for those that volunteer into it.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. And the teachers in the programs that are sharing what this is all about, they're probably, like most massage therapy educators, pretty overwhelmed with the breadth of what we teach, because having people learn about the anatomy, the physiology, the patho, the assessment piece, all of that stuff, that's kind of hardcore measurement data, right? So everything I've talked about so far for the past 10 minutes is soft skills. There's no data about this. This is behavior. This is interaction. This is listening. Can't measure these things, but this is what most people find when they get into practice. And people who are socially awkward or deeply introverted, they find massage therapy fairly challenging at times because it's hard for them to ask questions. But the really wise introverted people that I know eventually learn how to ask questions without sharing anything about themselves. And they become deeply successful that way. So there's all kinds of ways around it, right?
I love that too. I think understanding a little bit about client personalities and things has been a very helpful thing for me to know that, it's not about me. It's actually this person's personality. They just enjoy being quiet, or this person, they come in the room and they want to have a party, and I'm like, well, hang on a second.
Yes.
Could we be laughing this much? So understanding those things as well has helped me. This person is asking a lot of questions because they really enjoy the detail of things. They're curious, they're a questioner, or those sorts of things have helped me as well. What sort of things have helped you on your journey to being able to relate to different types of clients that come through your healing space?
I think the thing that has kind of stopped me and made me ponder a bit have been people who have asked something of me that was unexpected. So I'm pretty much, what you see is what you get, and I can roll with most punches that come along, right? But I remember this one client who came to see me, and she was an astrologer, like highly respected astrologer. And when I was a student, I'd had my chart read, and, that was a thing that we did back in the day. But I knew very, very little about astrology. And I had to actually think for myself how comfortable I was when she said, could you tell me when you were born and what your birthday is and where you were born? Because she wanted to do my chart to see whether I was going to be somebody she would feel compatible with. So I had to kind of reflect on whether I was prepared to give that information. Eventually I did. And We worked really well together for a couple of years. She came to see me on a regular basis, and she never crossed the line of sort of telling me about myself. For her, it was essential information that she needed to be able to read me. So eventually I kind of made peace with that. Another person that I knew, an Indigenous woman, needed to know where I was from, and she wanted to meet me for coffee. Now, in my where I am in this jurisdiction, we would never socialize with clients. We would never do that, right? And there was something very odd about the request. She said, if I'm going to work with you, I need to know who you are. And that's a really common value in Indigenous culture. So I had to really think about that because it felt like I was crossing a boundary. On the other hand, she wasn't asking me to cross the boundary to explore further in a way that
would be more conflicting, maybe, perhaps.
Exactly. She just kind of needed to know how to read me. So I said, well, what's the worst that can happen? I go have a coffee with her and I answer her questions. She's interviewing me, and we'll see what happens. Sure enough, she thanked me. I went to her house. We had a tea, and she made cake, and I had piece of cake and tea, and it was like 45 minutes, and then I left. And then she booked an appointment. We never talked about it again. It was the weirdest thing. But so these were things that would happen for me that I didn't know quite how to answer them, because it was all about the boundaries, making sure that, my professional boundaries were really firm. And yet every once in a while, somebody would ask me something and I'd think, well, why are they asking me this? This is not a crossing a boundary. There's something else going on. And one more thing, which is related. I'm a client now, and I went to see one of my former students. Now, he graduated 20 years ago, so he's well on his way and well established, But I shared with him how uncomfortable I was as an educator going to former students for massage therapy. And he took that in and thought about it. And as I was paying the bill, he said, Pam, I want you to know that I've been in practice a long time. And if you would like to come back and see me, you are welcome to be my client and not my teacher. And I sort of went, wow, he heard me. So I guess what I'm getting at with these stories is I really value the deep listening. When there's deep listening, things may come up that surprise us. And if we pay attention with integrity, surprising things will come out of it. Anyway, that has been my experience. Yeah.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing that. I think honestly, it's just fascinating and really, really helpful for not only myself, but also the therapists that will be listening to this. Yeah, really cool. And yes, familiar with that. Not sure I should be going to see a student. Not sure about that one. Especially, now in the day of everything's automated, the automated review comes through on your phone. Right? A 5-star review. I'm like,
right.
This is hard. Yeah.
It's awkward.
Yeah, because it's like, hang on a second. what do I do with that? Right. So
Right.
I've got to workshop that,
So you're going to tell people, I never give reviews, don't expect them, right? Which is that's an option.
Yeah.
But over the years, over many years of trying to find a massage therapist, I'm always trying to find somebody I don't know to be my massage therapist, because it's awkward. People have a preconceived notion of who you are. And that just all speaks to the weirdness of the therapeutic relationship, which is, it's so intimate. What we do is so intimate. So how do you market that? How do you make that a really good uh,
Yeah.
way of managing your business? Well, I go back to what I said earlier, which is you just behave with integrity and deep listening and seek consent, and people will flock to you because they'll feel like they can trust you. And hopefully they will be people you don't know from other parts of your life. Hopefully.
Yeah. Yes. I've always been practicing in fairly small communities. And what it's like, the mom comes, she sends a partner, all the family.
The daughter.
Suddenly you see the whole family and you're like,
yeah, that's a lot to carry as a massage therapist, because they don't realize it, but they're all going to be telling you stuff, and you will knit a story about their family that gets complicated. It gets a lot to carry for the massage therapist. That's a burden. Yeah.
I think in Canada, I believe that I don't know, I probably am wrong, supervision. Is that something that
I'd love there to be supervision. There is not. There's not. It's available for people who seek it, who value it and understand the purpose of it, but it's not a requirement. It should be, because any of the helping professions where there's a component of psychological support. And I've talked about supervision for years. Probably every time I do a workshop, I give time in the workshop to discuss the importance of it, because I had that when I was first starting. There was no training for certain kinds of challenging circumstances. So the only way that I could feel like I was responsible was to actually ask for help. And I had a social worker that I would call. It was informal. It wasn't formal supervision, but I could have a conversation with her once a month or whatever. And she was quite fascinated by the kind of work that we do. And it was very, very helpful for me to get some perspective on what's going on therapeutically in the relationship. So supervision would be brilliant if that was required. It is not, unfortunately. Yeah.
My original training was in Scotland.
And you had supervision?
I had supervision. It was voluntary and just offered our teachers, because they were very they were very aware. And so we would just pay a nominal amount, bring a cake, and a whole bunch of us would get together and we could do a group sort of supervision. So it wasn't like really super in depth, but it was enough to have a support system, and then watch some, strange cadaver videos or something.
One of those. I would have loved that.
Such fun with your
exactly.
So nerdy.
I would have loved it. Damn it, I missed it.
Cake and coffee and cadavers. It's a funny sort of mix, isn't it? It's a funny world. Our teachers as well, amazingly, they actually ran massage for and within an NHS setting in the UK for drug and alcohol rehabilitation, they would take some of their students. Well, I wasn't, I was qualified by then, and got offered an employed gig by them. Come and work with us on a Saturday morning. Oh, oh, I'm not sure this is for me anymore. And they were like, calm down, it's okay. And yeah, so they really did help. And because there was a lot of talking therapists there, we really didn't do a huge amount of that type of things because we were supported.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the things we learned.
But this is the really subtle, almost unspoken parts of the kind of work that we do that that I've shone my lens on for all of my professional time. But it's hard to talk about, and it's hard to engage other people, because most massage therapists that I am familiar with, they've experienced awkward situations. They've experienced times when they didn't have a clue what to say. Things had happened. It was weird. And without a more experienced person to chat with about those things, just so you can kind of frame them and understand them and say, oh, okay, that's what was going on. Without that, people get frightened, and then they stay a little bit further and a little bit further from those circumstances when they arise. I think our clients know that too, and they will also stay away if they won't talk about those scary things unless they feel permission to share them, right? Yeah.
That's fantastic. I think we're at the end of our time, Pam. Sadly. Is there anything else that you would like to share with, anything encouraging, perhaps?
I think that if we take the hook out of our clothes and let ourselves off the hook and recognize that our clients are quite often remarkable teachers for us if we give them the opportunity to be so. And we can be students for them, learning about their unique situation. If we let ourselves off the hook and we allow ourselves to continue being students of life and the human body and all the crazy circumstances that life brings us, that can re-engage us and keep us absolutely seeking more as massage therapists. And if we forget that we are students and we think that we always have to be teachers, then we are probably vulnerable to burnout, because after a while you give and you give and you give, and then you start resenting because people are not appreciating what you're giving. So I see this give and take between clients and therapists as being essentially fluid teacher-student kind of relationship. And if we respect each other and show compassion, that's the gold. That is the gold of practice. And that actually is what keeps our practices really busy as well, if we can do that. Yeah.
That's fabulous. Thank you so much. I'm sure that so many people listening to this are just going to be like, well, how can I learn more? I'm sure it's going to be like that. Which is exciting for me. That
nice.
We're going to suddenly go, what? How do I learn more about this? So
right.
I know that you've got your beautiful book. We can put a link to where can they
You can put a link to my website, and if people want to reach out, have a conversation with me, they're welcome. Yeah.
Okay. That's absolutely wonderful. Thank you so much for your time and your wisdom.
My pleasure.
Sharing so much with me today. It's just been wonderful. Woo!